Rachel! Rachel!
You're completely infatuated with your cousin, are you not?
How long have you been lying to me?
Dream. Where is she? Dream. Run!
The only thing that I lacked
Oh my God.
was you.
I don't know what we're looking for anymore. Shouldn't we just...
Keep looking, please!
Soon none of this will seem quite so bad.
Rachel, my torment.
With you.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. Did she? Didn't she? Who's to blame? That was the tagline for the original film version of My Cousin Rachel, adapted from the novel by Daphne du Maurier, which Fox brought out in the early 1950s. Back then, they said that Olivia de Havilland was the only star in the world who could portray the titular heroine of My Cousin Rachel. Well, since then, there's been a new version, directed by Roger Michell, starring Rachel Weisz. It's coming out very soon on DVD, so I thought this would be a very good time to give you my top 5 screen Daphne du Maurier adaptations.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That place gives me the creeps. That place, Jamaica Inn, it's got a bad name. It's not healthy, that's why. There's queer things goes on there.
Eh?
Queer things. I won't stop there, not if she were to offer me double fare.
So at number 5, a Hitchcock film, and I warn you, there's a lot of Hitchcock in this list. Jamaica Inn from 1939. Now, it is generally thought that Jamaica Inn is not one of Hitchcock's finest films, not least because Hitchcock had a lot of problems with Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton changed the role he was meant to be playing, and then Hitchcock didn't like the way he played it, and then he didn't like the way that Hitchcock directed it, and in fact, pretty soon afterwards, he went off to America, and his whole American career began after that. But I think it's still an interesting curio, largely because it's a really good story, and it does demonstrate that no matter how badly you mess around with things, the du Maurier narrative still works.
The headaches, the fever, the bitter potions.
She has done for me at last, Rachel, my torment.
At number 4, My Cousin Rachel. Not the old Olivia de Havilland version, but the new Roger Michell version. The thing I love about this film is, firstly, I think Rachel Weisz is brilliantly cast. I mean, she does a great job of playing a character that you're not sure whether she's sinister or whether she's just somebody who's on the back foot, somebody who has done a terrible thing, maybe she hasn't, maybe everything is projected onto her. There was a wonderful moment during the making of the film in which Rachel Weisz said to her director, look, I've made a decision about whether she's guilty or innocent. And Roger Michell said, that's fabulous. Don't tell me. Don't tell me, don't tell anybody else. Just keep that secret to yourself. And I think that's the reason why the film works so well. Interestingly, Daphne du Maurier didn't like the original version with Olivia de Havilland. I think she would have loved the new version. On to number 3 in my top 5 Daphne du Maurier adaptations, and Hitchcock's back again, of course, it's The Birds. There are so many stories about the terrible time that Tippi Hedren had making The Birds. In fact, there was a TV movie made a little while ago starring Toby Jones as Alfred Hitchcock and Sienna Miller as Tippi Hedren. In fact, I think Toby Jones did a better job of portraying Hitchcock than Sir Anthony Hopkins did in the feature film Hitchcock. But the thing with The Birds is, it's a cruel film, it's a nasty film, and it involves cruelty and nastiness in its creation. And yet it still does manage to be a proper horror film. I was interviewing Jake and Dinos Chapman once, and they talked about how there are certain moments in The Birds that have infected a lot of their darker art, and you can see why.
Last night, I dreamt I went to Mandalay again. It seemed to me I stood by the iron gate leading to the drive, and for a while I could not enter, for the way was barred to me.
At number 2, Hitchcock again, Rebecca from 1940, starring Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. An absolutely brilliant adaptation of Daphne du Maurier's source. Interesting trivial fact about Rebecca. Key character in there, played by Judith Anderson of Mrs. Danvers, this kind of terrifying figure. Apparently, when Aardman were making Wallace and Gromit, The Wrong Trousers, the character of Feathers McGraw, the penguin character, was inspired by Mrs. Danvers. And the weird thing about it is this, that penguin is really creepy anyway, but once you know that penguin is basically doing Mrs. Danvers, It's almost unwatchably creepy. Which brings me to number one, and my favourite Daphne du Maurier adaptation, and it's not a Hitchcock film. It is, of course, Nick Rogue's Don't Look Now from the early 1970s, a spine-tingling masterpiece, a film which manages to be beautiful and tragic and strangely erotic and also transcendent. The really interesting thing about Don't Look Now is this. The screenplay for Don't Look Now is written by Chris Bryan and Alan Scott, and it's adapted from a short story by Daphne du Maurier. The short story is brilliant. The short story works very well. It's kind of like a strange, shaggy dog story. But one of the things that the screenplay adds is something that everyone imagines is in the short story, but it isn't. In the short story, there is a couple who have lost a child. In the film, the child has drowned. The couple then go on holiday to Venice and keep imagining the child coming out of the water. Now that watery element is entirely from the screenplay. It's not in the source. And when you see the film, it's so much a central part. It's so absolutely quintessentially at the heart of what makes Don't Look Now such a brilliant film. You can't believe it's not in the original story. I've seen Don't Look Now so many times. I love the score by Pino Donaggio. I love the performances by Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. I love the direction by Nick Rogue, who manages to do that thing about shuffling the cards so wonderfully on a visual level. I think it perfectly captures the spirit of Daphne du Maurier, but it does something more. It takes that story and it takes it to a different level. And the screenplay is just something else. So there we are, my top 5 screen Daphne du Maurier adaptations. As I said, a lot of Hitchcock in there, but Nick Rogue just stealing the day. If you get a chance, check out Roger Michel's version of My Cousin Rachel when it comes out on DVD very soon. It's a really terrific movie, and it's worth it for Rachel Weisz's terrific central performance.